Please be seated. Members of the Board of Education, Dr. Patton, Miss Orr, Miss Viviano, our class advisors, Mrs. Mann and Mrs. Sheldon, members of the faculty and staff, parents, friends, and fellow graduates. It is my pleasure to welcome you to South Glens Falls High School's graduation ceremony for the class of 2016. Now, before I say a few words here, I just want to say I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be up here before you today, to be able to address the community for the second time this year, first time being the marathon dance earlier in the year. I promise I don't have any glow sticks I'm going to chuck at people, if anyone was there. And I don't have any more horse walking into bars jokes, so you don't have to worry about those. So, I'm going to speak for a few minutes, and if you want to follow along, that's cool. If you want to take a nap, that's cool too. So here we go. I want to ask you all a question. I want everyone to close their eyes for a moment and think. This goes for all audience members. I want you to think very hard about what I'm going to ask. So when I get to 1, close your eyes. Ready? All right. 3, 2, and 1. Close them. And don't peek. God, I always hate when people peek in elementary school. Pulling heads up, 7 up. Grinding my gears. Now this is where the thinking starts. And my question is this. What was the defining moment in your life that has motivated you to be the person you are today? And what people pushed you in the direction that you are currently traveling? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about your answer to this question. All right, you can open your eyes. Now you might be saying to yourself right now, geez, Nick, I really don't have a moment like that that's happened to me yet. And I'm here to tell you that you might not know that for a long time. And that's okay. Meanwhile, others of you are probably thinking to yourselves, well heck, I have 5 to name off the top of my head right now. And I'm here to tell you that you probably have many more of those moments to come. And that's okay too. The fact of the matter is that everyone has a story. Thousands and thousands of pages long. And each one of these pages is filled with what makes you, you. Everyone has pages that have been read, pages that are for the author's eyes only, and pages that are blank, waiting for the story to further reveal itself. Today, I want to tell you a story. It was a beautiful spring day and the sun was bright, with very few clouds in the sky. I cracked a window and made my way back to my bed, which was messy after waking up for a nap. The scars from the IV needles were fresh along each of my arms, and I felt like a human pincushion. It was a school day, and I was still tired. My joints seared, but that was commonplace for most of my body. Days before, I visited the neuropsychologist to run some baseline tests on my neurological capacities, which all came back far below average. Yet another one of the insidious side effects of chronic Lyme disease. I turned on my TV and fired up my PlayStation and started playing Batman. While I wasn't sleeping, I often spent many of my days just sitting and wondering what my friends and classmates were doing while I wasn't at school. I wanted to be in the classroom, I wanted to play sports, I wanted some normalcy in my life. I set down my controller and wandered down this path like I had countless times before, with every thought in my head crashing into my conscience like a tidal wave. and I cried. In a time when my brain was capable of remembering so little, you may be asking how I can recall this so clearly. That is because a scared 16-year-old, whose life at the time seemed as if it was crumbling right in front of his eyes, never forgets the day he wishes his life was over. That was me, and I was ashamed. I was ashamed because of the fact that somewhere in the world, there was a kid my age battling juvenile cancer, with his story prematurely coming to an end. I was ashamed because of the fact that there was a kid my age in Syria who just watched her family get blown up by her own government right in front of her eyes, which instantly erased the main characters of her story. It could have been so much worse. I was shallow-minded and selfish. And reflecting back on that now, my life has opened up so much more than I ever thought possible. Fast forward to me standing here before you today, and I am no longer ashamed and embarrassed. For I thought my friends and the ones I loved would express the same response towards me if they had ever discovered the way I was feeling. As it was much easier to fake a smile than deal up front with the situation. After countless hours of crying, useless self-pity, and support from many amazing people who often didn't realize they were helping me, I can stand here today and tell you that that was my first moment. It was the moment that made me realize the countless ones I had overlooked, and the ones that were unfolding before my eyes. It was the moment that solidified the fact that you will lose many times in your life, sometimes more than you win. But that is okay, as long as the losses are used as a tool of knowledge and stored in your arsenal for the next day to be won. In the words of Rocky Balboa, you, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. We take so much for granted without realizing it, day in and day out. And we neglect to take a second to slow down and breathe. We forget to realize that each breath is precious. For if you couldn't take that breath, you wouldn't be here to be able to pick the fruits life bears. We forget to remember, but remember to forget. For forgetting is the lesser of the two battles. It takes courage to remember, and willpower to keep it together, as remembering what we've learned can teach us so much more than what we have ignored. I hold this truth to be self-evident in every aspect in life, so our paths may help better the future. What I once thought was merely sitting on my grandfather's lap, loading dump trucks for hours and hours in the campus payloader, was actually the undeniable love of a dying man for his young grandson, and cherishing the little time he had left with him. The same can be said for a dying grandmother, who made elbow noodles with butter better than anyone on this earth for her grandsons, and a great aunt who danced in the living room one Easter with her great nephew and niece, and died peacefully at home that night. Looking back now on these cherished times, I realize the monumental influence that these individuals have had on me in life and in death. Humans are conscious of their impending morality, but so often neglect the fact that it is certain until they realize it is too late. Make the choice to remember the inevitable and be cognizant of your moments as they happen, and use them to improve upon yourself from one day to the next. And you will slip and fall, and the weight of it all will bear down on you from time to time. But that is okay, because the things truly worth fighting for, whatever the case may be, will force you to find a place inside of you that you never knew existed before. And the weight will push, and it may get heavier. But no weight is heavy enough to keep a bulldog down. It may take a while, but you will stand, and you will be stronger than you ever thought possible. So I challenge you here today, as we are about to set off on our different ways, and write the next chapters in our lives. To always remember where you came from and make the most of this precious life you have been given. Do not waste it away. Earn it. Thank you, class of 2016.